and welcome to Pop of Passion. Join me, Jax Barker, comedian and highly sensitive person, along with a guest every other week as we delve into our deepest passions, from being a plant dad to conquering insecurity with comedy. If you relish the memory of an unexpected late-night conversation with a stranger about their obscure passion, the kind where you have tears in your eyes one second and are doubled over laughing the next, this is the podcast for you. Hello and welcome to Pop of Passion. I'm Jax Barker and I'm so glad you're here. My guest today was my very first boss out of college. He is a 3-time alumnus of President Obama's campaigns. He worked as Florida's Youth and LGBT Vote Director in 2012 for President Obama's re-election. Currently the Executive Director of Children of Lesbians and Gays Everywhere. You can hear him on his podcast, Gamer Friends. Anywhere you find podcasts, please welcome Jordan Budd.
Hi.
Hi, Jordan.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
No problem.
How you doing?
I've never been introduced before.
Really?
I'm doing well.
You've never been interviewed before?
Not like this. No, I don't think so. It's not for a very long time, if ever.
Wow. Well, I'm honored. And I hope I do you justice.
Thanks.
So I guess we should just get right into it. Jordan Budd, what is your passion?
It took me a little bit to put into one word or phrase what my passion is, but I landed on equity. And I think it's because it's been the driving factor in most of my major life decisions is my pursuit of equity for myself, for my community, for people who look like me and who share my identities, and for people who don't. It's become my lifelong passion and something that I think about and obsess over almost all the time.
Yeah, so what does that obsession look like?
It looks a lot like being broke all the time because there's no money in working nonprofit jobs and organizing jobs, that kind of thing. At least if you are really focused on people and building people power. But personally, it looks a lot like having trouble with the status quo and not being okay with how things are going or what the trajectory of things is right now in any number of issues, and not being able to passively watch that happen. I think that my inability to stay uninvolved is a direct result of my passion for equity.
Yeah, I feel like a old-fashioned negative way to look at it would be to call you a busybody, but you're like the best type of busybody.
Right. I would really love to be in everyone's business, but only so that no one else bothers you in your business.
Yes, exactly. And I think like you're doing it for the best reasons, so you're the best kind of busybody.
I'm going to add that to my repertoire of how to explain what I do to people.
Please do. And you don't even have to attribute it to me. This one's on me. My favorite part about when you were describing your passion is when you were talking about how you're looking for equity in your community, people who look like you, people who are in similar circumstances, but then also people who aren't. Like, that is so cool because it really is, it's about everyone to an extent. And what do you think like drives you to that?
It's really straightforward, honestly. I grew up very comfortable, I would say, around in thought about them. And for a while, because of my family structure, I didn't have to think about them. If you think about Barack Obama, who I have mixed opinions on
Yes.
now in with 2020 vision, literally and figuratively. I had a very similar upbringing. I lived with my single mom, with my grandparents, and that afforded a lot of stability that many other children of single mothers definitely did not have. That changed a lot when I moved from South Florida to South Carolina when I was in high school. I encountered a level of racism and classism that I had not been cognizant of, I will say, in South Florida. And what I mean by that is it was happening. Like, I was experiencing racism and classism all the time, but I didn't have the language for it. And it wasn't necessarily happening directly to me as much as it was happening to people around me. And so it wasn't hitting the same way as when it's something that you go through yourself. My politics had begun to evolve in high school, and it was really moving to South Carolina, seeing the hopelessness there in a lot of ways, having to make friends along racial lines in a way that I had not had to do that in South Florida. Really becoming hyper aware of the role of Christianity in how many people come to think about social issues today and how problematic that can be in a lot of circumstances. Those thoughts and those experiences didn't really hit home again until I moved to South Carolina. People used to tease me about moving to New York and say, oh, you're in for a real culture shock when you get up there. And this was in reference to me going to NYU, which is actually where we met. And I would always reply that the culture shock was not going to New York, it was going to South Carolina. That was the biggest culture shock of my life in a lot of different ways. And it prepared me for organizing in a way that I am very grateful for. Again, with hindsight, facing that level of adversity, being put in that situation really helped me to understand how these issues impact so many other people all across the world and in much worse ways than it ever impacted me. And if I don't want to deal with how I was being treated in South Carolina, I can't imagine how people are feeling in much worse circumstances. And at the time, I had much younger brothers and sisters. I guess they are still much younger than me, but they're adults now. And I didn't want them to feel the way that I felt growing up there. I was there for a really short time. It was like 2 years, and I went to college. But for my siblings, they grew up there. And that was of deep concern to me. So it was very much me personally engaging with the types of isms that I care deeply about today that led me to learning more about organizing and getting involved in that way.
Yeah, that's wow. I think because we met while organizing, that's how we know each other. On a college level, you were obviously way higher up and more involved in the organization. But then post my graduation, we did go to Tennessee, and it's so funny because I had the culture shock of my life. I grew up in the Midwest, then I moved to New York City, and I was like, everyone is so nice in New York, and that's like as a Midwesterner who everyone thinks is nice. But then the South, oh my, everyone, I thought they were so mean. And I didn't handle it well because I'm so sensitive and I'm no longer an organizer because, you know what I mean? I didn't adapt to it and it wasn't for me. But it's just interesting how we have these ideas about like cultural norms and like all that kind of stuff. But it affects everyone differently. And like, I'm saying that as like a very privileged white lady. So I can't even imagine what South Carolina must have felt like. But I see that it has like really driven you.
It was a different world and it was the shock of my life. It, in many ways, prepared me directly for Tennessee and Texas and North Carolina and a few other rural organizing jobs that I've had over the years. And so I'm grateful for that in a way. But at the same time, again, if I didn't have to go through that, I would love to have not done that. And that's why I continue to push the way that I've continued to push, because I don't want people to have those experiences growing up, and at all. So
yeah, definitely. Like it feels like it's you are talking about, like, you know, your younger siblings, but the greater population, no one should have to go through those times.
Right. I think what has solidified that for me, because I've definitely evolved over time. I was pretty singularly focused for a while. I was like, I only care about the Black community. I need to make sure that the Black community is taken care of, that we're self-sufficient, that we are shielded from racism, et cetera, et cetera. And then that kind of expanded as my identity expanded. Oh, I want to make sure that LGBTQ people are preserved and that they are safe and that they are not harmed. And oh, I want to make sure that young people are empowered and that they feel comfortable leading movements, et cetera, et cetera. And it occurred to me that experiences that I'm never going to directly have. But that doesn't mean that their struggles are any less important, and it doesn't mean that we can't work collaboratively and collectively to change these things. And so as my organizing expanded, my ideology has expanded a lot, and now I firmly believe that a multiracial, multi-ethnic, multicultural movement that is across organizing lines is the only way that we're going to get out of this. And so I work to build that intersectional movement as much as I possibly can.
And I just want to say thank you for that work, because someone's got to do it. And I'm happy it's you, because I know you are putting your heart and soul into it. And it's already shown and made a difference, and it's only going to grow.
Yeah, I think that we're living at a really interesting moment. I think more people understand the situation as it is, as opposed to what we've been taught that it is, or what we're supposed to think that it is. And that's very encouraging. I think we see a lot of changes in public opinion around really important issues like defunding and abolishing the police, for instance, as a major issue that's up in the social calendar right now, if you want to put it that way. And you can see the data. Like, things have improved greatly amongst public opinion on these issues, and it's moving about as quickly as marriage equality moved, which, as I'm sure you remember, happened really fast in the grand scheme of things. So I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful. I want to make sure that the energy sticks around, though. I think we have a lot of work to do to make sure that we're not satiated and that we don't accept the crumbs, but actually continue to fight for real substantive change.
Absolutely. We cannot accept the crumbs, because we are not church mice.
That's right.
We're not. We are human beings. So I guess I'm wondering, what about equity do you see as, like, impacting you on a personal level? So, like, how does your passion affect you day to day? Not necessarily like work or like your job, but like just on a daily basis, how do you feel it drives you?
It's hard to stop thinking about things like equity when the news is what it is. As a Black person, a Black man, and a large Black man, it's not lost on me when the conversation veers into, oh, well, that Black person was big and deserved to be shot, as we've heard with Michaela in Ohio, where guys very uh, changed the direction of the encounter, and that wears on me for sure, to know that there are people out there who think that my body is what they need to be afraid of, and that no matter what I'm doing personally, my size is always going to be a part of how people respond to me and how people think about me. And it's hard not to get caught up in all of the negatives of that on a day-to-day basis. I think most of all, my passion is a balancing act between getting bummed out and despairing and feeling hopeless about the situation, but also having it drive me and really invigorate me to continue the work that I'm doing. I think it is so important the way that the body positive movement has changed how we talk about fatness and size, and that there is an organized pushback when ignorant things and ignorant comments are made around these types of issues. And it's one of those things where you can either choose to obsess over it in a bad way or choose to let it drive you. And I think in a perfect world, what I would like to see is a situation where people don't have to choose one or the other, that it's just a description, it's an adjective that applies to them, and it's not something that's going to define their life and who they are and how they live, or more importantly, how they die.
Wow, yeah. I just want to give a moment for that statement because that was very powerful. Yeah. Do you have any like things you do in terms of like self-care that you're comfortable sharing with how you deal with, equity being your passion?
Yeah. This seems very counter to my ideology, which is very pacifist and very focused on restoration, transformative justice, and not causing additional harm. I play a lot of video games where basically the whole point is to shoot as many aliens as possible. That is that is 100% how I make it through every week, being able to completely unplug and put myself into a fantasy world where we are not talking about race or gender or sexual orientation. We're just talking about this imminent threat that we have to get rid of, and leave the politics at the door, which is not to say that video games can't be or are not political, which I talk a lot about on my gaming podcast. But most importantly, it's a way for me to really unplug, because there's nothing about our current reality that's happening in these video games, at least the ones that I play. There's definitely ones that you could play that are a lot more reminiscent of real life. But that is something that I like to do a lot. And it helps me a great deal to decompress and playing with friends and things like that. Probably more along the lines of what you would recognize as a self-care routine.
No judgment.
I love candles and like aromatherapy. Mm-hmm. I just unpacked some new balsam and cedar tea lights this afternoon, actually, and I cannot wait for the sun to go down so I can light them, and I'm gonna make my living room smell like a Christmas tree in May, or still April, I guess. I'm extremely excited about that. I love to just chill, play some lo-fi hip hop, and relax with some candles.
Yeah, that's good. And I think everyone has to find their thing. and then like do the thing. The hardest part I find is to remember to do the thing that you're supposed to do when you're stressed or overwhelmed.
Yeah.
You know, I have a list on my phone that I have to look at when I'm stressed out because when you're that stressed, you can't think. So
Right.
you have to, I'll look and I'll be like, okay, so I have 20 things I could do. And this has taken years to put together, and it's been with my therapist, but there has to be one thing on that list that I'm like, okay, that's good. And sometimes it's literally laying in bed, putting on the Real Housewives, and not even looking at the screen, but like facing the other way and like listening to these women yell at each other. And like, for whatever reason, that does it for me.
Is it also something that you don't have to watch because you've memorized all the dialogue?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, since we went down into lockdown on St. Patrick's Day 2020, I have watched every episode of The Real Housewives of New York 5 times. So, where's my award?
That's an incredible stat. Where's your parade?
I don't know. I don't really like parades.
You wouldn't want a parade? Okay.
I find parades a little stressful. It's like too many people. I'm like afraid there's going to be a shooting, and like it's just, people are throwing candy, and I don't like to walk in a parade. I don't like to stand in a parade, and I don't want to be near a parade even, that it causes traffic. But I digress.
I don't know if it is a digression. I don't want you to have to think about those things. That's why.
Oh, exactly. Bringing it back.
We really would be better off in a world where the first thing you think about a parade is not a mass shooting. That would be a good start, I think.
Yeah, would love that. And I think that's a possibility.
Yeah, maybe.
In my lifetime.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. I didn't say it was going to happen. I said it's a possibility. I just would like to be hopeful about it. But there's so many things, like I get scared. Even every time I walk into a Walmart, I get scared. Gas stations.
That's legitimate. That's not going to change.
No. Like they're the biggest seller of guns in the country. But then, like I have crawled out of a movie theater on like I was in the army because a man came in like halfway through. He had a backpack. He was alone. The movie, I was that Dolly Parton Queen Latifah holiday movie.
Oh my
and
God.
It was in New York, and I believe it was right after the Boston bombing or Sandy Hook. I don't remember which. And I went to watch a movie to space out, and I was like one of the only people in the theater. And then the man came in, and I left, but I didn't leave standing because I was so scared.
The trauma that we have all collectively gone through is its own argument for universal health care, because we all need mental health counseling because of the PTSD of just living here.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Do you remember when the Oprah, Meghan Markle, Harry interview happened, and all the people in like England were live tweeting, and they were like, what's up with all the ads for medicine and drugs? It's like, oh yeah, that's every day because we don't have universal health care. So
that was the day that I got about 20 new gifts, and that was my biggest takeaway from that interview.
Love it.
Oh God, what a day.
Yeah.
What a day on twitter.com.
I love gifts. I feel like that's such a our age group thing.
I know. Don't Zoomers make fun of us for that? Like, isn't it uncool now to use gifts?
Yeah. And I'm kind of like, I don't really care because you guys have stupid opinions about many things, in my opinion. But I definitely have curbed my GIF use on Twitter lately because I don't want to be called a millennial. It's like these generational wars that have been like basically made because I think it's boomers' fault, so I'm just part of the problem. They were tired of getting yelled at, so they tried to start a war between us. It's like, Christ.
You know, I don't think you're right. I think that because in all of American history, and by the way, I did not come up with this idea. Actually, Michael Hobbs on You're Wrong About has talked about this multiple times. Mm-hmm. So credit where credit's due. Yep. But he was talking about how the silent generation at a certain point, like, left power and gave it to the boomers as the generation before them, but the boomers have decided to stay in power long after the previous generation ever did. Mm-hmm. And so we're having a generational fight, I think, because of this conflict where people our age are not actually making any decisions, and all the decisions that are being made are not beneficial to us or what we're interested in. And it's in large part because of how our country has changed and people staying in power longer. But anyway, that is a whole different passion.
All passions are welcome on Pop of Passion. But wow, I want to thank you for talking to me about your passion. I do have a quick fun question that is pop related. I ask one to every guest, and then we're going to do our passion plugs. So your pop, I call it pop ponderings. Jordan, if you were to choose a Funko Pop of any human or character in history, who would it be? You can like make one up. It doesn't have to be one that exists.
Wow. First of all, what a unique question.
It had the word pop in it.
I think it's great. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Of anyone. I'm so sorry that I'm like taking a sec, like, no. Obviously cut this out.
No, this is the most important question I've asked all day.
Okay. I would want a bobblehead of W.E.B. Du Bois. I think that... Go ahead.
Oh, where would you display the bobblehead?
I would want that bobblehead like directly on my desk, right next to my keyboard, so that every word I type, I feel like W.E.B. Du Bois is watching it, so that it keeps me from being nonsensical and foolish.
I think that is an awesome answer. And we're going to make that happen. We're going to make your dream come true. I'm totally kidding.
I think that would actually be a really...
I don't have the money.
I think that would be a very cute bobblehead just in general, now that I think about it. And so I'm going to add that to like my white whale list.
Yeah.
Before I retire, I want a W.E.B. Du Bois bobblehead on my desk.
I want that for you. So we're going to get into our passion plugs. I'm going to let you close it out, so I'm going to go first. This episode's passion plug comes to you from our friend Sarah, who is a great source of support and inspiration. Black Mamas Matter Alliance is a Black woman-led cross-sectional alliance. They center Black maternal health, rights, and justice. Please go to blackmamasmatter.org to get involved and donate if you're able. Links will be available in the show notes. All right, Jordan.
Okay. You said passion project, right?
Passion plug, but yeah.
Passion plug, sorry, okay. My passion plug is collage, I think, of course.
Yeah.
I'm the executive director. It stands for, or used to stand for technically, Children of Lesbians and Gays Everywhere. The gist of it is that people with LGBTQ parents or caregivers have really unique experiences, and we kind of fall not entirely inside the LGBTQ community, but not outside of it either. It's a gray area for some people, but not for us. And we really need community and support for the unique challenges, but also triumphs that come along with having an LGBTQ plus parent or caregiver. So if you're interested in that kind of work, see what intersectional campaigns we've got up to, you can visit collage.org. And we're always looking for donations if you've got the spare change. We would love to expand and grow. And with your support, we can do that.
Awesome. Everyone check out Collage. Did I say that right now? I'm really self-conscious. Collage.
No, it's Collage.
Collage.
You're
Okay.
right.
I don't know why I said, because I never, oh my gosh, I have such a problem where I like only see words and I never hear them because I live on my phone. And I remember once I was about at least 20 years old and I said, Yosemite. And you said, Jacqueline, it's Yosemite. And I will never forget that. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. I hope I wasn't a dick about it.
No, you absolutely weren't. I actually have a really big problem with people correcting me in terms of like how I speak. And like, I would remember if that pissed me off because stuff like that usually does. But no, you said it in the nicest way. And like, so thank you.
Okay, great. Because I'm working on my delivery.
No, you're great. Thank you all for listening to Pop of Passion, produced by Christine Ferreira. Thank you, Jordan Budd. Please follow the show on social media at Pop of Passion and at popofpassionpodcast.com. I'm Jax Barker. Go out and be the light, living your passion.